Debt culture, survival, or social pressure. We live in a world where you can easily access loans, you can easily just get money, you can go into debt easily. So when we talk about debt culture, do you think it's more about survival or more about social pressure? Probably you know someone, a friend, a colleague, a family member, or probably you yourself is into such debt. So do you think it's more about survival or social pressure? That's the topic that we will be looking at today. It's today's live on Bingham Television, and my name is Jemima Emmanuel. I'm not doing this alone. I have Mr. Gabriel Olatuye on set with me today. Happy to have you, sir.
Thank you so
much. How you
much.
doing?
I'm very good.
Great.
Glad to be
Great.
here.
Joyce Jakarta.
Such an honor. Thank you, Jemima, for having me today.
You're welcome.
Yeah.
Happy to have you on set. So when we talk about this debt culture of a thing, do you think it's more about survival or it's more about the social pressure? There are pressures everywhere. Online, offline, within yourself, outside of yourself. There's just so much pressure. So do you think people go into debt more about wanting to survive, or there are just so many pressures pushing them and they are tilting towards doing that all the time? I'll start with you, sir.
All right. So I'll begin by saying that if you look at it naturally, I don't think there's anybody that wants to borrow money.
Sure.
If everything is actually going on well with everyone. So I'll say it first begins with pressure. And, you know, looking at what you talk about, it's into two categories. There are people that, of course, we know that even though they know that this thing is out of their means, this thing is not good, and they know that it's not healthy. But because they want to prove a point, you know, everybody's buying something, everybody's owning something, and they know that they are not up to that particular level, you know, and then they struggle to look for money anyhow they're going to do to just be sure that they get the money. So for me, I think that it's more about pressure more than survival. Yeah.
Great.
Yeah.
Well, Jemima, it's an interesting topic if you ask me, because I think debt culture or debt in itself is something that a lot of people are experiencing currently, but very few are willing to admit it at this moment. Many people owe money as we speak.
Yeah.
Some are owing banks, some are owing friends, some are owing family members, some are owing colleagues. Like, there are a lot of people that are owing people money, but very few people want to talk about it exactly. But when you talk about it being a culture, I think Pastor Gabriel is trying to be soft on people. He said it's because of pressure. And I was asking myself, who put the pressure on the person that is borrowing? Think about somebody that is borrowing to buy phone. Who is pressurizing you? You are the one pressurizing yourself because of what is happening on social media, because of friends. You can't afford it. You don't have to buy it. But because you want to feel among, because you want to show that you have arrived, you want to show that you are a big girl, you are a big boy, you go to the bank, you borrow money to buy phone. You go and then borrow money to buy car. And these things don't add value at the end of the day to your life, or to it doesn't bring value. It only sucks out of you. Personally, when I think of debt, what comes to my mind is responsibility. And the second one is pressure. Responsibility in the sense that you have to pay back. You have an obligation, you collected money, you will pay back. And secondly is pressure. Now, you have to keep thinking mentally. You owe somebody money. Perhaps even promise that I will pay back ASAP. That's how some people will say. Some people will say next week. Some will say next month. And you know that perhaps you don't even have the means. Think about somebody earning 20,000 and you're borrowing 40,000 and you're telling the person at the end of the month, I'll pay you. How do you intend to pay that money? So I would like to see it from the angle when it has to do with needs. Perhaps I think people have genuine reasons why they borrow. But when it has to do with wants, like, I don't think you have to borrow. But a lot of people are just, they're about the soft life, it's societal pressure, they feel. Do you know that when I think about debt, before now, Jemima, when people borrow, it's because of basic needs, like house rent, school fees, medical attention, all of those things. But today, people borrow to go for vacation. So I think this culture, because when it becomes a culture, it means it's a lifestyle. So the fact that it has become a lifestyle, that means you're not seeing it as an emergency option,
Of course.
but a way of life. Some people today, they are alive, but they are posters of their pictures saying obituary. Why? Because they borrow money from loan apps, and because they failed to pay, the people decided to go and put their pictures, that obituary. I read a story recently on Facebook about a lady that borrowed money, and then she told the loan app that, I think there was a specific day she was supposed to pay, and she didn't pay that money. And then they now went and designed a is it what poster like that with her picture, and they put obituary. And I think her mother saw it, and that her mother had high BP, something like that, because she was the one that came up and I was narrating the story, that this was what happened to her. Should she sue? She's trying to look out for legal, that because this was what it cost for her mother. Did you? Well, I don't know what led her to borrowing. And that's why earlier on, why I'm saying that some of the pressures we put on ourselves, because what you're borrowing for is want. But there are genuine reasons why there are people that borrow for survival. And you can see that in meeting basic needs, like house rent, school fees, medical care, and even food. Perhaps as a mother, you wouldn't want to see your children going hungry. So you want to borrow, or you go and collect from people that sell food, and you say, please, can you give me, I'll pay you as so, because you wouldn't want to see your children sleep without eating food. So on one part is survival, but on the other part is because of social pressure. People want to feel among, people want to belong, people want to show they have arrived, and that is why they go ahead to borrow.
You know, when you were talking about loan app, it's becoming too rampant.
Yeah.
You know, few years ago, I was not aware of these things.
Yeah.
But then you just sit down and you get a text message or a call. Someone you know and you respect, you know, has borrowed money. And there's a way they do it. They go through your contact, all your... In fact, they go through everything about your phone, so that in case you fail, they'll be able to use these things. And so I wonder, what actually makes people to go to that length of borrowing? I see these loan apps as loan sharks, because the interest rate they put to the monies you collect is almost ×2 of what you're collecting. What could be so bad that would lead one into getting money in such places? These are just the online ones. We don't know about the offline ones and the numerous ones at all. So like Joyce said, people have made it look like it should be more about survival, but it's tilting towards pressure. And some of these pressures are self-inflicted. Like, why do I need to buy a phone to show you? I don't even get to know a lot of phones. All I need to know is it doing the primary responsibility that it was designated to do? That is all that matters. So do you think that in our time now, going into debt has become more common than before? And why do you think such is happening?
Well, let me just pick it up from the pressure I talked about. And the pressure I talked about is actually genuine pressure. Because, you know, we have very low income jobs now. When you look at the amount, just like she said, somebody who is being paid 20,000, this person needs to settle down. This person needs to get married. This person is going to give birth to children. And then maybe you discover that, okay, this man, and you know, these days churches will tell you, oh, you can begin from where you are. You don't need to have, do you understand my point? Just look for a woman that is ready to settle with you.
Try it and shock yourself.
Even if it's one room you have and all of that, you know, just begin from where you are. And a brother who is earning 20,000 decides to take the leap of faith. And they say, okay, let me go. And and then he organizes friends, they raise money for him, and the whole marriage was successful. And before you know, they are busy managing. Maybe the lady is trading or selling something. Maybe when they add the money together and all of that, it was actually doing something.
And you know, when you're planning for a wedding, that's how, you know, when you bring your own, I bring my own, you'll be able to do something. You're not thinking of emergencies that can just pop up, things that come with marriage. So you don't think, you just think about bring your money and bring my own savings, and we'll just
you know, when you think about your head and you finish the calculation, and like, by the time she brings her 20, I'm telling you. So before you know, you have first son, you have second son, and then you're having a third son. And then, you know, 10 years later, 20, you are still in that one room.
Reality.com.
You cannot improve, you cannot do anything. And then you see your children, you know, working with Pampers, and that was not the kind of life you planned. But because you can't actually do anything. And you know that, just like we established earlier, this thing has become very common. For me personally, I said one of the sponsors of debt are people. You know, there are days that when you, as in, let's assume you have a particular shop in your area where you go to buy stuffs, and you go the first day, the second day, and the third day, and the fourth day, the fifth day, and the sixth day, and the seventh day, you're like, I want to buy this thing, but I don't have money. And the woman tells, you're my customer, and just carry. Whenever you have money, come and buy. So the person does that and pays the first time, and then the person feels that, okay, we have built a relationship with this particular person. So let me just, anytime, even if I don't have, and then the person goes there one day and say, I need this and this and this, can you actually? And say, no problem. You're my customer, you're always patronizing me. And then before you know, he ends up not meeting up, and then he begins to dodge the woman and all of that. So that was the kind of pressure that that I'm actually talking about. And talking about the issue of borrowing or indebtedness is more common in our time, more than it was. Because I can tell you categorically clear that money has lost its value.
Absolutely.
That's the truth. Money has sincerely lost its value. And when we talk about this art of borrowing, right? As it's called, that even organizations borrow. Our nation is indebted, right? Churches are indebted. We can't deny that fact and all of that. In fact, you have churches that tells you that when you want to borrow, don't go outside, come to the church and borrow and all of that. You understand? So all of those things are different forms of debt. And you'll agree with me that most times for sincere pressure, when some of those options come up, sometimes they come up at the point when you are in need.
True.
At the point when you're in a very, very dear need. And when you're in, when you're in a very, very dear need, and then you have something to meet up with, sometimes your sense of reason actually leaves you. And then before you know, you're like, they tell you that the interest is 50%. And you say, no problem now. Let me just solve what I have to do now. Once I can solve it, I don't mind paying. And then you discover that you have been trapped. You discover that meeting up becomes a problem. And I hope you know that for a person who is indebted, whatever money is making, it becomes useless at the point of that debt.
Actually.
That anytime a man is indebted, you can be making a huge amount of money. And what I've also discovered out of experience, because of course I've been there, what I've discovered out of experience is every time you borrow money, especially the one that involves interest, you always need another money to pay back. Sometimes you're not able to meet, or sometimes you borrow debt to pay debt.
Yes.
Like what somebody will tell you that it's actually Peter that is robbing Paul, and you are collecting from this person to settle this thing. You are not actually getting out of debt. What you are doing is that you are increasing your debt load and all of that. And like she said, what comes with it is pressure, because you have to pay back. Your integrity is at stake. That's the truth. Just like she said now, obituary and all of that and all of those things and all. That's somebody's integrity. Just imagine now somebody you respect. I know of somebody that thing actually happened to, and it was his pastor that was called. And they were like, so and so person, do you know him? And he called the guy, and when he called the guy, he said, so person called me. Is it true? The guy had to deny it. But whether he liked it or not, he actually collected the money. And it was the wrong person that they called. I remember the time that it was somebody's father that they had to call and all of that. So I'm saying that many people get in debt, not because they want to get in debt. Like how I started it, like how I started earlier, that, our money has lost value. If there was an option for everybody, I don't think there is anybody that wants to borrow. So in our time, it's very, very high because number one, the pressure, technology, people are no longer contented. There is peer pressure. There is what are they calling it? There is, and even in church today, you will agree with me that there's a particular level of expectation that they want. If you don't hit that expectation, there's a place they keep you.
Yes.
I hope you agree. Even in church, it happens, right? That there are certain people that, they exalt and all of that. So today is not about competition. This person gave 1 million to church, so that's the seat. This other person not giving it. So you guys are the ones in charge of sanctuary. You are the one in charge of cleaning the whole place and all of that. But this particular person, there is no meeting that we're doing. We have to involve this person. We have to call this person. What do you expect the other person that is down there to do? Is to come borrow. They are saying Ashwebi is 50,000, and you can't you can't afford to appear there without looking the same as everybody. So you want to be like, okay, the only option I have is to go to Terminus and look for a shop and say, okay, give me this particular cloth. I'm going to pay you, even though you know that your salary will not actually meet up and all. So I feel that's why it's high in our own generation more than it was before. Even the kind of food we eat now.
Yes.
Do you understand? Our foods are expensive now. Those days, when we're growing up, we grew up with waza. Gwazo, that's cocoyam.
Yes.
We grew up with, dankeli into baking motor. That's sweet potatoes. We could eat that with ordinary oil and all of that. But check our children that are coming.
So what is this?
What's
I can't eat
this?
The food now is more expensive and more
And
harmful.
even more harmful. Gote and all of those. We have gote. Sometimes we drink gari. I remember one time when we were growing up, my father actually
See,
decided
most
to
of these children cannot relate to all these things.
At
I'm mentioning.
all.
all these anjingili, those are our snacks and all of that.
That's our lollipop.
Yes,
They
that's
can't
our
relate to
lollipop.
all of these
Yes.
things. And additionally, I would like to say that
Yeah.
one of the reasons why we have this debt culture now, and it's becoming a new normal. People
Sure.
shamelessly
Yes,
borrow.
exactly.
Like I said before, it's something that people do before somebody opens his mouth to borrow. It's something difficult.
Yeah.
But today, people will tell you even Nigeria is owing China.
Exactly.
Like I remember a classmate that borrowed money from a fellow classmate. Like we were 3 friends, and then exam was approaching, and he's yet to pay his school fees, and so he had an amount. I think the balance then was 10,000, and then she said, "I could give you," because he called everybody, his family members. Nobody had money at that point. But when will you pay me? Then he now say, I think he gave her a week after the exams that he's going to pay her. He said, "If you don't pay me, I'll lock you up." She said it casually, and he said, "I'll pay you. That I assure you, 1 week after the exam, I'll pay you." And that's how we wrote the exam, finished the exam. He did not pay. 1 week after, 2 weeks, 1 month, 2 months, we resumed the next semester. She said, "You are joking with me." Like, it got to a point she was calling, he was not picking. And she now called me and said, "I'm calling this person, he's not picking." And I called him and I said, "Why?" You told her that he doesn't have the money. Now I said, "Then pick the call and then explain to her."
Tell her.
And then when she said, when he picked, she now said, "You are joking with me. I will lock you up." She now said that she should calm down. Even Nigeria is owing China. That like the audacity. That was the word he used. So it has become normal that we don't even see anything wrong with it. We are using our examples like even Nigeria is owing China and all of that. There's nothing wrong with borrowing, actually, in the true sense of the word, if you are borrowing for something that will add value, like business. Even in business, they tell you that loan is the last option.
Yeah.
Yes.
When you go for business classes, they tell you you are finished with all your options, and then there's nothing. That's when you can take up loan. He mentioned something in passing. When you take up loans, at the end of the day, it's either you're working to pay back, especially in business. You built a business with loan. Now, and it keep accruing interest. Whatever you're working for is to pay back that loan. At the end of the day, please, what's the essence of coming up with this business if whatever I'm doing is
It's for
get
the
towards
person,
paying that person? So it's like I'm working for that other person.
Yes.
And that is why the culture of saving is actually encouraged. If I have a project ahead of me, like, can we prioritize planning ahead of time? I know eventualities happens to people, but like he said, some of us take certain things for granted. They tell you can start small. We live in a society that they will pressure you to take certain decisions. And then when you are tight with the challenge, everybody will fold their arms and leave you and insult you. The person that is telling you that you should marry at 21 because that was how they started in their time. They married at 16 or 19. They manage in one room with their wife. The same, forgetting that these generations are different.
Exactly.
You marry a lady today and you're telling her that you can't afford a house. Is your father's house? She'll tell you, yes, no problem, we'll manage. After the wedding, she will pressure you to leave that house.
Exactly.
She will say she cannot stay because her friends who are mocking and saying, "Why are you staying with your in-laws?" And next thing you find yourself renting 2 or 3 bedroom flats that is way above your income. Imagine somebody earning 30,000 and is earning 2 bedroom flat of 250,000. How do you intend to pay? So you have to keep going into debt. He talked about somebody that keeps going to collect, let's say, items from a particular provision shops. You keep collecting, and she will be giving you because she feels you're a salary earner at the end of the month. So think about it. I'm earning 50,000. At the end of the month, I've collected something of 45,000. I'm left with 5,000. It means the next month I have to continue again in line with that borrowing. You don't have peace. The Bible even clearly says you become a servant to that person. There's no two ways about it. And that's why when you see, whether you like it or not, whether you're in the mood to greet or not, you must greet that person because you are owing that person money. Whether you like it or not, even if the person is annoying, has bad character, you have to honor the person. Why? Because you are owing the person. It's quite unfortunate. I also want to link it to economic challenge and hardship. We can't shy away from the realities that things are hard. Jemima, if you look at your salary vis-a-vis what you spend in a month, it is not even close.
No.
Your expenses is far above what you earn.
Absolutely.
So how do you survive? How do you meet up these expenses? Like, these are even basic needs. Your transportation or your fuel and your food, the food you eat,
Healthcare.
your health care, your even outfit and all of that. When you check, I'm not just, a lot of people out there, they are working. Like, that's the reality of their life. The expenses is on the high side and then the income is way down. You need to augment. You have 4 children, you have 5 children, you have school fees to pay, you have food, and children will always come and tell you, Daddy, they say we should buy this. Mommy, they say we should buy this. Mommy, I want to eat this. I want to. They don't care whether you have salary or you don't have. Some organizations today, they are still struggling to even implement the, what's it called, minimum wage. A lot of states in Nigeria today have not. Imagine somebody with family earning 30,000. How do you expect the person to survive in this? So these are some of the realities that people have found themselves, and that is why death has become a culture. It has become a lifestyle. It's no longer an emergency financial tool that people like opt for. Before now, when you see somebody, like I said, goes to borrow, that means the situation is really there. People find it even difficult to do. Before they go to borrow, you see, they can even consult somebody that is older than them to follow them, so that can join them to talk or plead. But today, somebody can just call you and say, I'm stuck at this place. Please, can you borrow me 50,000? Please, can you borrow me 200,000? Please, like, there's nothing there. There's no shame in it any longer. But I don't think it should become a culture, a lifestyle for us. Let it. I still want to be on the path that debt or borrowing should be an emergency tool and not a lifestyle.
Mr. Gabriel, I would want you to continue from where she stopped. How we can clearly differentiate between borrowing for survival and borrowing for because of pressure that is coming. I know someone that borrowed money from one of these online loan apps, and it was huge. He could not pay up, and what they do is, the moment the day comes for you to pay and you don't pay, they begin charging you interest on a daily basis. So because he could not meet up, the money became so much, it was running in millions, and they had to gather people to come and assist, in raising the money and all of that. And then there's this other one that, right from when he was single, he promised himself that there was nothing that was going to make him borrow. He was that contented. He would manage. He would, he kept emphasizing, and he lived through with that until he got married. And then he had to come out. There were times that he just had to, through gnashing of teeth, he would have to go and borrow because he's watching his child dying on the bed. He's watching his wife, so he had to, out of necessity. So how can you differentiate between borrowing clearly, practically, between borrowing for survival and borrowing for pressure? Someone is out there, he doesn't even know the difference. All he knows is borrow. All he knows is borrow. And these people, because they are constantly coming to borrow, when someone is coming to actually borrow genuinely for survival, he may not be able to, because those that are constantly coming to borrow and not return have done that, and he has been faced with that kind of ugly side of life, and he wouldn't even want to help the genuine ones.
Okay. So just like I think Joyce actually mentioned that in passing when she said, and you also used that word when you talked about necessity. Do you understand? There are needs and then there are wants. And those things needs to be clearly stated. Those things needs to be clearly outlined. And the honest truth is, even if it's for needs, right? I don't feel you should borrow when you don't have a means to pay back.
Absolutely.
Do you understand? One thing that I believe in is...
So somebody will say now, so what should I do? My child is sick and they're asking me to pay 500,000. And I cannot afford actually to pay back that money. For somebody, let's say that is earning 50,000. Now, should the person watch the child? Because as we're talking, a lot of people will be using their situation to now say, are you trying to say?
Yes.
So I think it's also good to put that in perspective.
Of course,
and that's why
of course. Yeah, of course. So the reason why I actually said that, right, is that, in that, some people have gone to borrow and the child still died.
Sure.
Do you agree that
yes,
like that? Do you understand? So in that particular time, you are not the one that decides what happens to the child. That's when you need to genuinely turn to God for help. when you genuinely turn to God for help, right? You know that one of the things that you need to do is that after turning to God for help, you can call friends, families, call people around. If it means going to, do you understand my point? If it means, because the reason why I'm saying this is because I learned a lot of things in the hard way. That's the truth. I learned a lot of things. And I've gotten to understand that, see, there is nothing that you can stop. That's the truth. Do you get? Because you will go borrow that money, and like I said, they are, as they are genuine borrowing, but you know the end of that is something that you cannot actually afford, and at the end of the day you are going to be under pressure, and that pressure may cost you your health, that pressure may cost you your life, that pressure may cost you your integrity, that pressure may cost you a whole lot and all of that. So for me, I feel that the first option to opt for is not to go for a loan. Call friends, pray to God, call friends, call family members, look for assistance, go to your church, go to anywhere you can, explain the condition for them. And I hope you know that sometimes we borrow out of pride, right?
Yeah.
Because I wouldn't want to ask this thing, do you understand? I wouldn't want to go public to ask for help. So how will me like this in my integrity? See,
I
they're
don't want
looking
to
at
be
me in
looked
church.
down upon.
Exactly.
So I go and borrow at the boutique, borrow
Yeah.
shoe. I said, go and take up loans to buy shoe, and just because, like you use the word pride, you don't want people to look down on you.
So people's pride, do you understand my point? How can I call them and say, with all my dress, I cannot afford hospital bill, I cannot afford all of these stuffs and all of that? I feel that at that particular point in time, you know that you don't have the means to pay back. The first thing before you think about loan is to pray to God, then call friends, call families, call partners, go to organizations. At that point, you should be desperate to get the help. Go anywhere, go to any lender you know you can, get the help that you need to get. So that's talking about necessity, right? Talking about your child's health, talking about maybe your children going hungry and all of that, not having, like for me now, I can say that the amount I spend every day, right? The amount I spend every day is as in can cover our salary, like, do you understand my point? Because of how expensive things are. And this is something that you need to meet up with every blessed day and all of that. So when we talk about that, if you are borrowing for that particular purpose, which is needs or necessity, something that you know, that's after you have tried all your options and it did not work out. I'm saying that clearly. After you have tried all your options and it did not work out, then of course it is safe if you have an option. And the option you are going for must be a good option where you know that you will not be pressured. And I feel that at that point you also need to be sincere. Explain the clear terms to the person. I don't have this money to pay you now. This is what I can be able to afford, but this is a matter of life and death. Even me, I wouldn't want to borrow anything. But this is a matter of life and death. So, and this is why I need your help. If you can afford to do this, help me and all of that. And I will pay you as time goes on. But I don't want to be under any pressure. I don't want to be under any obligation like that. Do you understand my point? To actually meet up. So if it is for needs, then I can say that it's safe. But explain the terms clearly.
In fact, there are even needs that you can just ask yourself this question. If I don't buy it, what will happen? And then you just see that nothing will happen. You don't need to. I want to really lay emphasis on wants. There's difference between needs and wants.
True.
There's difference between borrowing to buy food and borrowing to buy an iPhone because everybody around you is using iPhone. There's different. Borrowing for wants is just to satisfy your pride. Like, how would they see me, big girl like me, using an Android phone? How would they see big boy like me trekking or flying tricycle? And then people put themselves in all manner of cage just because they want to show up. So, in fact, like I said, even when it has to do with needs, if you ask yourself this simple question, if I don't buy it, what will happen? Nothing. You might just pass and see a dress and you become restless. I really need this dress. So can you borrow me this one to buy? Before you borrow money, ask yourself this question. If I don't borrow this money, if I don't buy this thing, what will happen? If you will not die, that means you don't have to. But we live in a world that people are under all manner of pressure. Social media pressurize people to think that life is all rosy. People don't even know that most of the things that people portray is just the highlight reel. They show you, somebody will snap 100 pictures and pick one out of the 100 and post. And then you think, there was a point that someone was collecting my phone, for example, to snap picture. and then she uploads it. So imagine her friend thinking that, this person have arrived. See the phone. But see, she was borrowing. You have put yourself under pressure to buy her kind of phone because, and you ask her, hi, this your camera is good though, and she will smile. She will not tell you she borrowed it. You see somebody snap with shoes, with bags and all of that. Perhaps the person is even modeling or borrowed from a friend or a sister somewhere. I gave an example. Sometimes some of the people you see and think that, and put yourself under pressure. You don't know that there is some, maybe a relative somewhere that is giving them, dashing them these things. You don't have that relative. You put yourself under unnecessary pressure because you want to compete. See, there's something beautiful about contentment. And we've always talked about purpose on this set. If you know who you are, you know why you're here on earth, you know your journey, then there is nothing that will distract you. If you like be killing cow every day in your house, as far as you know that what you can afford is crayfish, you will eat it and you'll be as happy as anybody. Somebody shared a story of a rich man and his security. How that he was upstairs and he looked and saw his security sleeping outside, like really outside, lying down and sleeping. And he was wondering, like, somebody can really sleep like that because he can't remember when and how he slept that way. He had to call the security man to ask him that, like, why are you sleeping? Like, he was questioning the guy. He doesn't have any problem. He doesn't have anything to worry about. He knows that at this point, this is where God has placed me, and I'm okay by it. But some of us, competition, unhealthy competition, like, always you're forgetting where God has placed you. You are looking at to be at where another person is. And that is what has led some people, made them entangled in some of the death that they have found themselves. Most of the things you borrow are unnecessary. People bring something to sell. You don't even need it in most cases. They are bringing wrappers and you pick it or you ask your colleague, pay for me, I will pay you back. And that thing is not a need, it's just a want, because everybody in the office is buying. You decide, I will also pick it so that it will not look as if I'm the poor person. Let me also pick it.
Or you hear them say, she's my friend, I want to patronize her business.
And you don't even need it,
True.
but let her not feel as if I'm not patronizing her. When your salary can barely afford your transportation and you're feeding. The same, he was mentioning how that sometimes people call us to ask you for something. I can't afford it. I don't have it. But do you know there are people that will borrow to give another person?
Very well.
Yes. They will call and say, hey, my friend called me. I don't know how to tell the person no. And so, please, can you help me so that I can give this person? Like, there was somebody that called one time and this person said, one of my spiritual son called me. And then he asked for this amount. And there's no way you will tell them, they will not understand that you don't have. Like, if there's anybody that should be truthful to spiritual son, is he not spiritual father?
Of course.
So why are you living the lie? Are you not misleading the spiritual son? And then that these spiritual sons, they will not understand when you tell them, like, so can you borrow me so that I can give this particular person? Why put yourself under that pressure?
True.
When you can simply say, I don't have, but perhaps let me see how I can assist. It's even better for you to even call the person and say, oh, this person asked me for this. At this moment, I don't even have. I don't know if you can assist. Not for you to go into debt just because now I'm even talking if that situation is really critical, like an emergency. For example, health. For example, maybe the person is at the verge of being thrown out of a house and then he calls, you cannot afford, but you have a friend or you are related to somebody that you think is in a position to assist. Then I can call the person and just present, oh, this is somebody, a colleague that is very close to me, and I know this person is a responsible person, but at this moment, this is the crisis that this person is faced with. I don't know if you could be of assistance. But not that you go and call somebody and say, help me facilitate loan. Me, I cannot afford it. And then I'll go and help you and facilitate. Where you're helping the person facilitate is just you that they know. If the person does not pay, look at the pressure you have to put yourself. Because in most cases, those people don't even end up paying. There are very few people that are that honorable to actually meet up with that demand. So we need to separate needs and wants and learn to be contented. We and Nigerians, or will I say, we live in a world now that people are trying to live above their income. Fake it until it becomes real. Like, why let me not look like my problem. And so you live above your means. you are, because you're comparing yourself with another person. Perhaps the person has another source of income, but this is your only source of income, and you decide to live above your means. You find yourself always indebted. So I think we need to separate it. If we're talking about debt as a culture, whether people are doing it for survival or social pressure, you see, when it has to do with survival, it is needs. When it has to do with social pressure, it is wants. And in that case, when it becomes wants, it's because you want to satisfy your pride. In most cases, let's not look as if we are let's buy this as she be, so that we not go and look like, when you can iron what you have, where it go there after 2, 3, 4 hours, the party is over, the wedding is over, nobody will remember. In fact, you'll be ashamed when you wear clothes and you see another person wearing the same clothes. Hi, is that uniform or of that? So for 4 hours or for 3 hours something, you had to put yourself under pressure to go and take up loan. I hear people take up loan to buy a shebi.
In fact, there was this thing, I was having a conversation with a bike guy one time who always takes my son to school and all that. So I was having a conversation with him one time. He has this bike he's driving, and the bike is very good. And the guy was telling me that he's looking for someone that he wants to give this bike to. And then his boss is calling him to buy him another bike on hire purchase. He was almost done with paying for the one he was I think he was almost done with the one he was. So he was not like, his boss wanted to buy another bike. Then I told him, I said, is that wise? You have walked this far to pay for this bike. Why not use the same discipline? You are carrying 15 or 20,000 every week to go and give. You were disciplined enough to be giving your boss that money every week and all of that. Why can't you be disciplined enough to save this money for this number of months? Save it, get an account, be putting the money there. Let the money get to a particular level. Sell off this one, add it up, and buy a new one. And then you now have something new. With the new one, you can display yourself and walk to a particular level again. Save up someone, then you buy another one and give to somebody. I said that's how to grow. But just imagine the kind of mentality that we have now. God is trying to deliver you from debt, and then you are looking for how to enter into another debt again, and all of that. And then it's safe to say that whatever it is that you can do without, you don't need to borrow for it. I heard of a story of a pastor who came back from South Korea recently. And he said that when he got to South Korea, he was surprised to see something, that there are no vehicles for short distance routes. Yes, you have to walk. Wow. Yes, the government has made it like that you just have to exercise yourself. That's it. So, but here you want to go from maybe Brightway to Satellite. You say, instead of me to trek, you end up giving that kind of that 150, that 200, that if you save for an entire month, it can actually become something. And all of that. So, like she said, I think one of our first problem that we have is lack of contentment. And then to add to lack of contentment is also lack of patience. You hear the Bible telling you that follow those who through faith and patience have obtained the promise. So faith is not irresponsible. Faith actually works with patience, that you can believe God for something, but it actually takes time for that thing to actually come. And you have to keep preparing for that thing. You have to keep saving. I remember a particular young boy who came to me, and I was speaking to him out of experience because of course I have been there. So I was speaking to him out of experience. He came and he said to me, he said, sir, I think he's one of my mentees, and he came and said, sir, he said, I want to borrow money because I want to plant pawpaw in our village. He said pawpaw business moves very well. And I said, how do you intend to get the money? He said he's going to speak to some of his uncles. I said, how much are you looking for? He said 200,000. I said, what work are you doing? He said, nothing. I said, how will you be able to afford 200,000? And he said, then I told him, I said, what if you buy and plant and the whole thing gets destroyed? What will you tell them?
How will you pay?
How will you manage the risk at your age and all of that? And he said, he's going to manage. I said, no. I said, that's not wise. I said, this is what you're going to do. Start saving money every day. I said, at least you are, as in, he was in SS2 at that point. I said, start saving money every blessed day. Save this money for the next 1 year, for the next 2 years. Even if it's 100 every day, save it like that. And I told him, I said, when you start saving that money, it's called that opportunity will meet you in the process of that saving.
True.
He started saving, and then he got to a particular point. And one day, and I said, okay, what can your money afford? Or what do you have in mind? Now, since you cannot do pawpaw, he said he wants to buy a goat. And I said, okay, how much is the goat? He told me the amount. I said, how much do you have? He told me the amount. So I said, okay, this amount that you have now, you see what will happen. Opportunity will find you, and you'll be able to raise your money for goat. And he said, no problem. So while he was there, one person called him to go and farm. And he went and farmed, and the person gave him about 4,000. When that person called him to go and do something, the person paid him. Before you knew it, in less, what we calculated, I was going to take him for about 8 months, took him like 4 months. He was able to raise the money for a goat. And I told him, go and buy a female goat. Give it to your mother in the village. In fact, in the process there, while he was gathering the money, he came one time and said that his mother is in dire need in the village, that she said you should give him part. I said, don't try it. I told him that, and I'm saying it publicly. I said, don't give your mother that money. I said, if it's 2,000 you can afford, send it to your mother and dash her. Don't borrow your mother money. And he said, okay, no problem. Did the mom survive? Yes. Did he buy the goat? Yes, he bought the goat. Today, as I'm talking to you now, I think that goat has given birth to about 2 or 3 children. And I told him, I said, by the time you are 25 now or something, how many goats do you think you are going to own? And all of that. So it's a lack of contentment, lack of patience, because a lot of us, we just want to arrive here and now. And that's why you hear many people telling you that, you know, you open a business or you open a shop and you're looking for young people to work, and they are not willing to work. Because everybody just wants to have everything here.
Nobody
and
wants to start small.
Nobody wants to start small. Nobody's willing to start from anywhere. And then secondly, we also have people who are not willing to start up any business. Everybody wants to depend on somebody else. Everybody graduating today is looking for a job. Nobody wants to create anything. Nobody wants to do anything. So the man does a business. Say, okay, no problem. I will employ like 20 of you. I'm paying 17,000 at least. While he sits there and then he's making the money. So people are not willing to think. People are not willing to engage their mind. People are not willing to study. People are not willing to pay the price. People are not willing to start afresh. You know, I actually saw an interview of Warren Buffett. I don't know how many of us know Warren Buffett. He was interviewed and then they asked him a question and they said, if you lost everything that you have, what would you do? And he said, I'm going to start all over again. And, you know, everybody was like, huh? You know, like they were surprised. They were amazed. Like, maybe, as in the people are thinking, you say, okay, I'll go to an organization, go and get a job, and then maybe, you know, start up again, save some money. He said, I'm going to start all over again. And, you know, when they say, then he turned and looked at them and said, that's why I'm up here and all of you are down there. Because the knowledge and the experience that he has used to get to that particular place, he can use it to start again.
And you know, unfortunately, we also live in a society that celebrates appearance more than financial discipline.
Exactly.
So nobody will ask you, how did you even make it? Even your family members. We pressure people into, your mates are doing this, your mates are doing that, your mates are doing this, your mates, and the person comes with a flamboyant life. Nobody asks, how did you make it? How did you? And then everybody, like, people don't even care again about financial discipline, about contentment. So people just feel, okay, this is just the normal thing to do. Borrow money. This loan app, and quite unfortunate, this thing is, you see them popping up, whether you like it or not. You can't even watch anything like they always jump. So until you have that financial discipline and that contentment, you find yourself always falling victim of all of these people. And at the end of the day, you see that what you borrowed for was actually not what you actually need. It's not a need. And then you are embarrassed. Some people have committed suicide because of some of this disgrace that they have done to them, these loan apps and all of that. So some people's friendship has ended. Some found themselves in a situation where they really need help, but there was no help. Why? Because they actually, that's one of the danger of being like aligning yourself to this debt culture, because you have borrowed here, there, and you did not even pay back. Now you are in there and nobody's coming for you. Like I said, borrowing in itself, it's not wrong, because we've seen businesses that thrived, like people had established their business, but they want to expand it. They take up loans and they expand their business, they pay back. We've seen people that have borrowed to invest and then they ended up paying back and they added value to their life.
When it comes to, sorry to interrupt you, when it comes to the place of investment, there's something that they call OPM. That's talking about other people's money. Do you understand? That's not directly borrowing. You can share your ideas with people who are willing to invest into your business. Do you understand? So they have a share in the business. Instead of going to say, oh, borrow me 50, let me put in my business. Borrow me 100K, let me put in my business. You can have a beautiful ideas, a beautiful idea. Get people, sit them down, have a meeting and share with them. I think that's what, you know, people like them, Dangote now. People tell you they're indebted, but they're not directly indebted. That's the truth, because they have partners, they have investors. So if it is crashing today, Dangote is not losing anything. They are all losing together. That's the truth. So there's something that is called other people's money. Do you understand my point? So get your idea, get people, share it with them. As in, if you share with the first set, they are not willing to invest, share again, keep sharing, you will definitely get people that will actually invest.
And if you also invest, for example, borrowed for educational purposes, like I'm into a business and I borrow money just so that I can go and add knowledge to myself that will help in my business. At the end of the day, it's value I'm adding. For example, I go for a training that talks about visibility, consistency in business. I come back, that knowledge that I gain, I put into my business, and boom, my business like is blossoming, flourishing. You see, I've added value and I'm able to pay back that money. So can we look beyond this culture? I know we live in a society that is now like a new normal. People are celebrating. Like when you even say you are owing money, they say, it's not only you now, all of us are owing. Now, when you even talk about when somebody collects money and you're asking, you say, it's not, almost everybody is owing. But can we not put ourselves under all of this pressure? Like the Bible did not like say, oh, outrightly tell you, oh, don't borrow. But you see, it cautioned. There is a caution on that. When you check Proverbs 22:7, it says that the borrower is a slave to the lender. They have told you clearly. So you're supposed to apply wisdom. The Bible also states that, oh, nobody, nothing except love. So why owe you money? So that means that as much as you can, try and avoid that, because it comes with a lot of baggages, a lot of responsibility. There are people that borrow money because they can't pay back. They are being obligated or asked to do things that were against their values, against their principles, and they ended up doing it. Some ladies have given their body just because they could not pay back a loan that they actually collected, and they ended, it's not something that they want to do, but because they put themselves in that situation and they had to do that. So can we not put ourselves under that pressure? Can we not put that kind of obligation upon ourselves? Can you think of saving? Like he mentioned the example of this young man. Instead of thinking of borrowing, why not let me start saving towards this project? You know you are living in a rented house. Ideally, after a year, you're supposed to pay. So why not start saving from the day you pay this year's rent? You start saving ahead of next year. I know eventualities come, but like I said, ask yourself, if I don't get this thing, what will happen? If nothing will happen, that means you don't need it. Like somebody shared on this set, I think it was Mr. Lucky, how that he said breakfast. He at some point he realized that, okay, I'm buying bread, I'm buying this, like I'm almost spending like about 4,000 plus a day for breakfast. Like, and I could actually buy sweet potato fries, and it can, when I buy like for 2,000, you can use it for 2-3 days, and then it saves you that. So can you look within your means? If you think that your pay, for example, cannot meet your basic needs, can you also think about adding up your income stream? For example, you're a salary earner. What business can I also add to augment, since my expenses is becoming way above my income? What can I actually add up so that I'll be able to balance it? If the job you are currently doing is not able, can you also look for other options out there rather than being indebted? Like, can we actually look elsewhere? Like personally, I would like to really encourage on saving. Save towards whatever you want to do. It's going to save you a lot of stress. At the end of the day, when you earn money, you know that this is the money I earn. But some people collect salary and pay loan, and then you start all over again. Then you'll be asking yourself, so like, what's the essence of the work? So I think there, even if we have to borrow, let it be for emergency sake. Like financial, it should just be a financial tool for emergencies, not as because of social pressure, not because of wants. It should be because it's something you need.
Okay, so then there are people that are actually in debt, like it is that bad. They don't even know how to come out of it, and probably they've sold all the valuables that they can sell and they cannot come out. What can they do to come out of it? Because that they are in that doesn't mean that life is over for them. So quickly, we're running out of time actually. How can they come out of it? And then the one that is not yet in it, how can he do well as not to? I know we've talked about planning, investing, saving, starting small and all of that, but how can they actually be extra careful not to go into debt? And then that person that is already in it, how can he come out of it?
Okay, so let me quickly say this, right? It's very difficult to borrow once and not borrow again. Sometimes once you've started, it becomes an option. That's the truth. So I think one of the ways to actually avoid debt, like we said, avoid getting into debt, is if you are here or you are listening to us this afternoon, one of the things that you need to do is, number one, just like we said, live within your income. Plan, save, and then also invest, just like she said. Invest, look for something to do to add to your stream of income. And then I think I'll say this finally also, it is also safe to understand that sometimes you also need to check to understand, because sometimes for some people this thing may not just be ordinary. I mean, it may have some spiritual backings and all of that. I know what I'm saying. It may have some spiritual backings and all of that. So you also need to check and understand. It's something that you need to pray about. That's if you are in there. Life has not ended. Everything is not over. Write the list of everyone you are owing, every single bit of it. Decide to start from the least to the greatest. Just start like that, and then just keep settling as little. Talk to everyone you are owing and tell them, okay, this is how much, this is how much I'm going to spare every month to pay everybody. Be disciplined at it, and then keep working at it until you find yourself out of it completely. Thank you.
Thank you.
Trust God to help you navigate through economic hardship, and then always rely on Him. Be contented. If you don't need it, don't go for it.
If you don't need it, don't go for it. And then you need to plan, you need to invest, you need to save. We should imbibe the habit of starting little. Nobody wants to start little. When something is done and they say, oh, you need to volunteer, nobody wants to be there. When you need to start little, you have to start it, so that when you eventually grow big, you would live to tell the story at the end of the day. Thank you so much for doing this, Joyce. Thank you so much for doing this, Mr. Gabriel. And thank you for being a part of our discussion today. And until we come your way again, do have a blessed day.